There's a bunch of crazy stories written by the Brothers Grimm. And now you're gonna learn all about them, listening to the Brothers Grimm.
Students and scholars, friends and relations, welcome to the Brothers Grimm podcast, where we discuss the phenomenal collection of stories which had been collected and written down by the Brothers Grimm in the early 1800s in Germany, including this week's story, number 45, Thumbling's Travels. My name is Phil.
And my name is Mike. Phil, good question for you.
Okay.
When's the last time you experienced deja vu?
Last week, I feel we did a story called Godfather Death, and a mere 2 weeks before we had done a story called Death is My Godfather or whatever. I think it was just called The Godfather, but The Godfather happened to be Death as well.
Yeah. Well, today we have Thumbling's Travels.
Okay. Sort of similar to something, what was it? Story 37, I think. 20,
somewhere around there?
37. Yeah. Thumbling. I am willing to get into that very soon if you would like, but we do have some housekeeping.
Oh, do.
Yes. We told a story 2 weeks ago, Frau Trude, and the German contingent who listens to this podcast, or at least one, I learned, explained to us that we said in the podcast that a collier was a coal miner. And apparently, at least in the German text of Grimm, it's not a coal miner, it's someone who makes charcoal.
And this was, I take this. This was me lazily taking the shorter second definition in the dictionary instead of the actual first one, which is maker or user of charcoal.
And proof that if you ask a question on the internet, no one will respond. But if you post wrong information, everyone will jump right on to tell you that you're wrong.
In this case, I do appreciate it, though.
Oh, I do too. So Freund und Verwandte, willkommen. Apologies if I fucked that up. All of our one German fan, but also breaking Grimm news. Apparently, 27 books from the Grimm brothers' private collection, originally thought lost, were found in a library in Poland, which I think is very neat.
Yes. They think there may be some footnotes that have never before been seen and things like that.
Yeah, it's not new stories.
Right.
But part of their research collection. Underlinings and stuff from the Brothers Grimm themselves. So they're going through them. I think it's a very interesting look into the research methods that they used and where certain stories came from before going into whatever edition. And I thought I'd bring it up because I think there's going to be very few times we can have any sort of breaking Brothers Grimm news.
It's funny because I think all along we've generally pictured their research being sitting in the tavern and getting stories from one of the Wild Sisters or 12-year-old Amelia Hassenpflug.
Yeah, that may have been where it started. I'm very interested because they say the stories originated from Dorchen, Wild, or whatever. But I'm wondering if they were like, okay, that's the story. Let's go now actually write it down. And I would be very interested in actually reading a story about how this all came together. I know there's a little bit of an intro in the Grimm book we both have, the same edition, where they kind of get into a little bit of how they kind of got into the publishing world, but it's only 2 pages. I wouldn't mind reading a whole actual book on this at some point, but
yeah. In the line of, I think it was last week's about it was Frau Trude. The book I'd come across, or at least the essay I'd come across by Kay Turner about the, picking up the coming out subtext of the girl and, leaving home and turning into a block of wood and burning. I did a little more looking, and that's actually an essay from a longer book in which she pulls these queer underlying themes out of a lot of different Grimm stories. Yeah, I think I might grab a copy of that and at least follow along as we're reading ones that are featured.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that was such a neat read. I didn't pick up on that at all. I'm really glad that you brought it up, and I would love to know if there were more as we're going through these.
Yeah, I'll see if I can grab a copy.
All right. Also, I apologize. My voice is all jacked up, similar to last week. I'm.
Sometimes you can't catch a break 2 weeks in a row.
Sometimes that.
It all depends.
Yeah, very similar to what we noted last week. This week we have a story that is not exactly a carbon copy of story 37 Thumbling, but good gracious if it ain't close.
It's edgier.
It is a little bit edgier. Slight differences in the character, which we can discuss in a bit. But if you don't mind, I will take us through the plot of story number 45, Thumbling's Travels.
Yes, please.
Once upon a time, a tailor had a son who was no bigger than a thumb. Son decides at some point, time to go out into the world. Father says, fine, here's a darning needle. You can use it as a sword. Off you pop. Up through the chimney on a puff of hot air. Finally, he gets an apprenticeship. However, while he's staying at the master's house, he finds the food he's being served wanting. He yells at the servant about this for a bit, about how she's very bad at cooking. They have a little fight until she drives him out of the house. Off he goes. Finally comes across some thieves who look at him and say, hey, well, this little guy could help us steal all the king's money. And Thumbling says, you know what? I sure can. Let's all go steal from the king. Off to the castle they go, up to the walls. They find a little crevice and Thumbling sneaks in, off to the treasure room, and then just starts stealing all the thalers, throwing them down to his new pals. And the king, sensing that his money is not safe, he goes to inspect like a Scrooge McDuck. He goes to the safe to inspect it, but he can't see where Thumbling is because he's very small.
I haven't counted my pairs in a while.
Yeah, I know I have 410 exactly. Thumbling plays some tricks on the king and the guards until they finally get tired and just leave. At which point, Thumbling grabs the rest of the money, throws it all out the window down to the fellas, and off they go. The robbers, they all ask if Thumbling wants to be their new leader, but he declines, takes one small coin, although the largest he can carry, and off to adventure number 3. He gets a job at an inn, but his main work there seems to just be a snitch, and he stooges on all his coworkers for whatever little things they do. One of the barmaids gets sick of that, so one day when Thumbling is out playing in the grass, she snatches him up with some grass, ties it into a bundle, and throws it to a cow. So now he's in a cow, which eventually gets slaughtered, and eventually gets turned into sausages. And he's stuck in a sausage for a little while, until finally he escapes.
Quite the ordeal.
It is. He comes across a fox. The fox sees him and, eats him up, gets caught in his throat. Thumbling says, listen, bring me home. And if you do that, I'll give you all the chickens in the chicken coop if you don't eat me. So the fox says, okay. And so he does. And the family is happy to have Thumbling back. And they give the fox all the chickens. The end.
This one's a dick.
Man, Thumbling is more of a dick in this one.
The whole scene at the first apprenticeship where he decides the food isn't good enough. It's like the first version of a scathing review on Yelp. He goes, mistress, if you give us no better food, I will go away. And early tomorrow morning, I will write with chalk on the door of your house, quote, too many potatoes, too little meat. Farewell, Mr. Potato King.
Earned.
That's a vicious tweet right there.
Yeah. Thumbling being a more of a dick is what I should have pitched a couple weeks ago when we did Thumbling, story number 37.
Yes.
Just Thumbling with a Boston accent, just running through the countryside, shouting at people, just being like, fuck you. I'll meet you over at Yaki Way and fuck you up the way I did at John Quincy Adams Middle School. And just, he's yelling at waitresses. He's like, this is the worst goddamn lobster roll I've ever had.
Let's go fucking rob the king.
It's fucking garbage, and it tastes like your mother forgot to wash again before she called me over last night. Now, all right, boys, it's time to go rob some trucks and shit.
I know a guy.
I know this guy. All right,
my buddy Jimmy in Southie. He's gonna meet us there.
All we got to do is pick up the truck.
He's got fucking bolt cutters.
We got to. Everyone's going to be distracted because it's Wednesday, and as everyone knows in Boston, Wednesday night is spaghetti night. So we're going to bring the truck up to the north side.
When you said Wednesday, I immediately knew you were going to say Prince Spaghetti Night.
Yeah, it's Prince Spaghetti Night.
Amazing.
You know why?
Was that just a New England thing?
I don't even know why I know that. I guess it was a commercial, right?
Yeah.
And
Anthony.
Oh yeah. Shit. I don't know if it was a national campaign or not. I don't even know if Prince Spaghetti Sauce is like anywhere but the Northeast. But I remember that from my childhood. Is that Wednesday night is spaghetti night in Boston?
Yeah, no, that this is a New England thing.
Okay.
Much like bacon burgers.
Wait, is that only a New England thing?
So not bacon cheeseburgers.
Okay.
But like in school growing up, did you have bacon burgers? It wasn't a hamburger. It wasn't bacon. It was like a patty of some kind of like spiced meat amalgamation. And I never questioned it until I was an adult. It was always on Tuesdays. I always liked them every Tuesday, all through like elementary and middle school, possibly in high school too. And only much, much later did I learn that is not a national thing. It might not even be like a full Massachusetts thing. I think it was like very specific regions or areas. I looked it up at one point, but I can't remember what I learned.
I do not at all recall this. It sounds
Sounds
I don't
made
know
up.
what I don't know. It doesn't sound made up. It sounds as if maybe something was going on, some sort of crazy meat pie situation at your high school.
They got all their meat deliveries on Wednesdays.
It's Sweeney Todd, yeah, it's a bit of a Sweeney Todd situation in Boston. They cut it all. Or they cut up a guy at Satriali's somewhere in Massachusetts.
Oh, hold on. So, we can cut all this out, but subreddit tip of my tongue 2 years ago, a school lunch food bacon burger that didn't have bacon but a type of bacon breading is the title of the topic. So whenever I bring this up, most people think I'm crazy. So maybe it's a Mandela effect thing. But I specifically remember Bacon Burger Day in elementary school having this breaded patty instead of bacon in a burger. If anybody has any memory of this or any idea what I'm talking about, please help. It's driven me mad for years. And Google only seems to come up with actual bacon burgers when I search it. For extra content, this would have been around 98, 2002-ish, if that helps. I can tell you it was happening in the 80s too.
Yeah. Well, I would. I mean, I'm sure I would enjoy it if I tried it. It sounds good.
I can remember distinctly exactly what it tastes like, and I'm not sure if I ever want to have one again. But so one person says he found them in like the frozen chicken section of Shaw's, but the bag was damaged and didn't dare buy them and never saw them ever again.
Oh, it would have to be in Shaw's too, right?
The mystery deepens. Oh, you can find it in Market Basket too, I bet.
I mean, or not if no one else remembers this, and it was only in like 4 different towns. Shall we move on? Or
yeah. Sorry for the complete divergence.
No,
Good luck editing this.
It'll be fine. I mean, I can get it down. I found an interesting bit. I thought the name Tom Thumb or Thumbling may have come from Norse religions.
Really?
Yes. So Thor had a story where he spent the night in. There was a giant named Skrymir. I don't know if I said that right. I can't imagine I said that right. But Skrymir's glove. They slept in the thumb of a giant's glove, and then Tom Thumb, like maybe possibly as a joke, kind of referencing this idea of sleeping in a thumb. That's where the thumb name came from for Tom Thumb. Was like he was so small he could fit in the thumb of a glove, and that was supposed to awaken this image of Thor sleeping in Skrymir's glove, which they all would have known, but we don't know because I mean I know a little Norse religion, but really not much and things, and especially how close Germany was to like all the weirdly being super Catholic, but then also like really into witches and shit, and like all the Norse stuff is all there constantly. It's just amazing.
Yeah, no, there's crazy stuff going on in Norse mythology.
Do you have any other notes?
No, I do actually. At the end, when he shows back up at the dad's house,
okay,
and yeah, they're happy to see him, but also the dad goes like, "But did you really have to give the fox all the chickens?" And he's like, "Your father would have been happy to see his son instead of the family hens or whatever."
Yeah.
He also, when he shows up, he says, "For this, I likewise give you a handsome bit of money," and gave his father the Kreutzer, which he had earned on his travels, which was like the little coin that he had because he couldn't even carry a taller. It's tough to line up exactly what the currencies were around then, but it seems like a Kreutzer might have been like 65 Kreutzer or 105 Kreutzer to a taller. And I don't even know what a taller, maybe a taller was 100, but anyway, it was like $1 probably.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I bring this handsome bit of money.
Here's a penny. I've been lugging it all over town. It's like, why does it smell like sausage? Well, it was in a sausage with me for a little while.
That whole sausage adventure was, I mean, it was only like 5 sentences, but it just seemed like it took an eternity.
It was
just, especially for Grimm. It's just like he's in a cow, and then he's at the butcher, and then he's in a sausage, and then he's in the smokehouse in the sausage for like a month.
It's so funny.
Sausage, and he's like, wow, that sucked.
We get so used to these stories like whipping through things, and you're right. Like the rest of that section, and I think it was a lot more than 5 sentences.
I was just on the wrong one.
1, 2, 3, 3.5 pages. That whole thing takes up 1 full page.
Yeah, that's just it just keeps going and going.
And we're at the point now where we're reading these, and if I'm like 4 pages, Jesus, I don't have enough time to read all this.
I got to take a day off of work for this one. But that's all I've got.
Okay. Well, that's all I have too. And if you do not have anything else, and I do not have anything else, I think we can call it.
No.
All right. Well, This has been Grimm's Story number 45, Thumbling's Travels. Sleep tight, and we will see you next time.
Oh, and remember, as always, we can be reached at the Brothers Dim Podcast at gmail.com. On X, we are at Brothers Dim Pod, and on Blue Sky, we are at Brothers Dim. I'll come up with a spiel for this that's a little less awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. Sleep tight.
Sleep
We'll see you
tight.
next time.
See you next time.